Jeremiah.
What?
I have to admit this moment shocked me. Not because I think that Huda and Jeremiah should be together. I don't. And we all know from the start that their relationship was built on very shaky ground. It moved way too fast and wasn't healthy in so many ways. But what really caught my attention was something deeper, something almost everyone missed. What we're actually seeing is one of the most overlooked signs of emotional trauma on Love Island. Hi, I'm Dr. Pam, therapist and relationship counselor, and I am so passionate about helping you grow and create deeper, more meaningful connections. And if you want more of that, I hope you subscribe so we can stay connected. I have talked about Jeremiah and Huda in previous videos, but today we're going even deeper with Huda's disturbing reaction to the clip that I just showed you and why Jeremiah chose to step away from something that felt toxic. And in choosing Iris, he was really choosing himself in a healthy way. And most important, I'll also explore how unhealed trauma can quietly shape the way people show up in relationships and the ripple effects that it creates. Okay, let's dive into the reaction from America's vote.
What the? That's crazy. Bro, this is so... I'm confused. What?
I was thinking about how intense that moment must have been for the Islanders. I can't imagine what it was like to process that kind of shock that I don't think anyone saw coming. Some people laughed, which might seem insensitive, but laughter can be a response to discomfort or confusion. Sometimes it's a coping mechanism, and sometimes it reflects a lack of empathy. As we process all of this, I want you to consider something. While Huda has been harsh, it's important to remember that emotional immaturity often means lacking the inner resilience to process something this shocking in a grounded way. And I'm definitely going to talk more about this as we go.
Congratulations, Iris and Jeremiah. Iris, you can go take a seat next to Jeremiah. Huda,
Makes no sense.
you are now single and vulnerable. Please come and join me up here.
There is so much happening in this moment. Iris, oh my, I can't even imagine what that must have felt like for her. And yes, Huda is vulnerable here, but not just because she might have to leave the island. For her, this moment feels traumatizing. When we see emotional immaturity in someone, it's often because they have experienced trauma in their life. In Huda's case, it's likely that she has lived through trauma that has shaped the way she responds emotionally, possibly from a very young age. And I say that because her emotional reactions often feel childlike. And when a child goes through trauma without the support they need, their emotional development can get stuck at that age when the trauma occurred. What we are witnessing in this moment is someone who doesn't have the inner emotional resources to process something this overwhelming, and that is completely out of her control. It's not an excuse, but it does help us understand what we're seeing here more clearly.
Huda, how are you feeling?
Like I got slapped in the face.
By America, you think?
Yeah, by whoever voted, yeah. For that, yeah. I feel like we had like the best connection in here. It just makes no sense.
Why do you think they voted for this?
Probably because Iris said that she had interest in Jeremiah when she walked in here.
It's not surprising that Huda's first reaction is to blame Iris, even though it's somewhat indirect. That's what she's doing. And while it's true she's in shock and struggling to process what just happened, her response still reveals something important about her emotional world. In emotionally overwhelming moments, our instincts often show us who we are beneath the surface. And for Huda, her instinct isn't to pause and reflect, it's to externalize, to place the blame outside of herself. That doesn't mean she's doing it intentionally, but it points to a deeper pattern of avoiding self-reflection, especially when emotions are high. So the Islanders are now put through the brutal experience of having to choose who to vote off the island. And honestly, this is where I became really concerned for Huda's mental health. Anticipating the possibility of rejection and broken connection, especially in a high-pressure environment where emotions are already running high, can be incredibly destabilizing for someone who doesn't have the strong internal coping tools. This kind of moment doesn't just trigger disappointment, it can activate deep fears of rejection, abandonment, and powerlessness. And for someone like Huda, who already struggles with emotional regulation, it can be overwhelming. I'll show you what I mean. I want to share with you some short clips of Huda as she stands there listening to the other islanders vote.
I'm making this decision.
Be exploring Huda.
How they were handled.
What you're seeing here is very different from the Huda we've seen before. The one who cried when she was angry, lashed out when she felt threatened, and showed signs of emotional immaturity. This moment is something else entirely. This is a woman who is deeply triggered right now. And this right here is what I believe to be the most overlooked sign of emotional trauma on Love Island, and that's disassociation. If you look closely at her eyes, she doesn't even seem fully present. It's as if she is disconnected from her body. That kind of disassociation is often a trauma response. And when the nervous system becomes overwhelmed, the body can go into a kind of a shutdown or freeze mode. It's not about drama or manipulation. It's about survival.
And one person didn't. Be so sure that someone is their match. I feel people have hidden agendas around here. So the person I'm deciding to let go from the island is Huda.
Notice how surprised Huda is by the votes. This tells us something important. She doesn't seem to reflect on how her behavior affects the people around her. When we don't pause to examine how our actions land on other people, we're often caught off guard by how others respond. Okay, let's break down the aftermath.
We found each other. It's not our fault. It's the way God wanted it to happen. I realized that America hates me.
America knows something that you don't, so don't think America's against you. They might be with you and they might just want you to wake up. You need to be more open-minded. Don't embarrass yourself going too hard for a man.
I don't know what's going on.
Huda is clearly confused, and what we're seeing here is a trauma response. In this moment, I imagine she feels completely broken, like America has rejected her. That perception doesn't come from what's actually happening because she has no idea why America voted the way that they did. It comes from a deep place of insecurity and low self-worth that she likely isn't aware of. And honestly, it may even run deeper than insecurity. It could be touching a place of self-loathing. Right now, her defenses are down, which is why she isn't lashing out. But when someone doesn't have the tools to regulate intense emotions, those defenses return quickly. And we can expect to see that happen soon.
Why are grown men judging a couple if we're good? Like, it doesn't make sense. It's either like it's like their ego or something, or they just don't like when people are happy. I don't know. I feel like America thinks I'm not good enough for Jeremiah and hates me. And I'm sorry. And that's it. That's all I can say about that.
When Huda says she thinks America believes she's not good enough for Jeremiah and that America hates her, she's projecting. These aren't actually America's beliefs. Well, I mean, I know that people likely are having strong negative reactions to her, but she doesn't know this. These are her own deeply held fears about herself, but she's not aware that this is how she sees herself. It's unconscious self-perception of not being good enough, of being unlovable or feeling unlovable. It's what drives her to lash out, especially when her relationship feels threatened by another woman. It's not just jealousy, it's a fight to protect a very fragile sense of self.
I need to know, is there something that you guys are not telling me?
I feel it's mad love bombing.
in my head, you're coming here with an agenda. You're trying to be Mr. We've been locked in since day one and we're going to leave here to live together. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not buying that.
What's especially concerning is that he tells Huda that Jeremiah is love bombing her. Huda doesn't have that inner clarity or emotional understanding to question what he's saying. And in her vulnerable state right now, she's looking for a way to escape the painful feeling of being hated. Turning that pain outward onto someone else becomes a form of relief, and Ace is helping her do just that, turning it against Jeremiah. I'm not suggesting that Ace is doing so intentionally.
I don't know what you've been through in your past to where you've let people in so quickly, but that's a red flag to me that you've already let somebody so close to you in day one.
Ace, can I tell you something?
Yeah.
The reason why I'm in here and moving the way that I move and being very careful with who I talk to and truly investing time into a person is because I'm a mother.
When Ace says to her, I don't know what you've been through in your past to move so quickly with people, and then she tells him that she is a mom and it's hard to date, this is what she takes away from her conversation with Ace.
Genuinely, I appreciate you for being so real with me. It's causing me in this moment to second guess what I have going on, because clearly everything that I've thought wasn't entirely true.
The problem here is that Ace got in her head. I'm not putting that entirely on him, but his influence played a role. Now Huda is starting to take on the stance of being the victim in all of this. And that's how we end up here, with her feeling wronged, misunderstood, and unable to see her own role in what's unfolding, as well as unable to have any clarity with her own thoughts, feelings, and experiences with Jeremiah.
You did not check on me once during this whole thing, and I feel stupid. I've trusted this person with so much. That was so genuine, and I almost got voted off because he was not genuine. Yeah. Like, what the is wrong with you?
There's a lot to unpack here. Huda's defenses are back up, and when that happens, she shifts into a mindset where she takes no responsibility. In her eyes, she's now the victim, and Jeremiah is the one who hurt her. This sudden distrust of him doesn't come from something new he's done. It's a reaction to the pain of almost being voted off the island, the rejection she felt from America's vote, like I mentioned earlier. That vote likely triggered old trauma. Then with the others, like Ace, getting in her head, her fear and confusion have now hardened her into a protective stance. I have been wronged. And here's the deeper insight. Sometimes it feels safer to believe we've been betrayed than to face the unbearable fear that we're not lovable. Playing the role of victim can be a shield, especially when someone hasn't yet learned how to sit with pain without needing to blame someone else for it.
I don't know if they want him to fight better or they want me to fight better.
Obviously, it's you that they want. Why don't you think about it as America was protecting you? Like, you're welcome.
The Islanders are unintentionally reinforcing Huda's belief that she's been wronged. From their perspective, they're trying to support her, and I believe their intentions are genuinely good. But Huda's emotional reaction is intense, and that kind of intensity can be hard for anyone to respond to thoughtfully in the moment. What might have been more helpful is something like, I know you're hurting right now. This has been a lot, and it's been a lot for Jeremiah too. I really don't think he wanted this to happen. Instead of trying to figure out why America voted the way they did, maybe we can just take a break, go for a walk, or get some rest. Let's see how things feel in the morning. That kind of response holds space for her pain without feeding into the narrative that someone intentionally hurt her. And it gently invites self-regulation over reactivity.
I didn't lie to you, by the way. I never lied to you.
This moment is really hard to watch because the truth is Huda is not okay and Jeremiah is struggling as well. But for her, she's overwhelmed and in need of support that can help her contain, understand, and eventually grow from what she's feeling. But that kind of support requires skill, patience, and emotional safety, and that is a lot to ask from anyone, especially the other islanders who are also navigating their own stress and confusion. They're trying to be there for her in ways they know, but this is bigger than what a group of peers can hold. And that's what makes it so painful, watching someone in this kind of distress without the kind of support they really need. And I just want to be clear, I am not at all suggesting that any of Huda's behavior is acceptable. I'm just trying to explain where it's coming from.
Her after she almost got eliminated, I was so up, I just froze. She was talking crazy, but I'm a bitch. My husband would never.
And now Jeremiah questions if he should have gone to her, but no one seems to understand that this has impacted him as well. And he was supportive of her when it happened. Remember this?
Jeremiah, what about you?
I don't got no words. Just know that I'm really gonna miss going to bed and waking up next to you.
In that moment, he responded to Huda with genuine compassion and connection. And no one seems to recognize that. And Huda has completely forgotten that moment. And again, that is often what happens when trauma triggers happen. We know that Huda listened in on Jeremiah's private conversations with the other guys, which again shows a lack of boundaries. And after that, she blew up at him. But eventually, they have a conversation. Let's walk through that and I'll unpack it for you.
I'm gonna ask you how you're feeling, but first I want to apologize. There's no way for me to like explain what happened last night. All I can chalk it up to is like I froze, I shut down, and I wasn't able to be there for you. And I'm genuinely sorry about that.
The problem with Jeremiah apologizing right from the start is it sets the tone for him to take all the emotional responsibility. But this moment shouldn't be just about him being there for her. It should be about them being there for each other. Of course, we don't know what's been edited out in this moment, but it raises important questions. Did she try to reach out? Did he shut down if she reached out? Did she reach out and he rejected her? Or did neither of them know how to bridge the gap and reach out to each other? What we do know is that both of them were clearly in shock and deeply affected by what happened. There's sadness on both sides, and ideally, this would have been a moment of mutual repair, not just one person absorbing all the blame.
I think that's something you do, is you play victim.
Okay, let's just pause here because this is a perfect example of projection. Huda has been assuming the role of victim, as I mentioned, and she's completely unaware of it. Now she's placing that victim position onto Jeremiah, accusing him of playing the victim, and he has not done that at all. That's exactly what projection is, attributing to someone else what we haven't been able to acknowledge in ourselves. I find projection fascinating because it shows that somewhere inside of us, we do have awareness of our own challenges. We don't see it, of course, but that awareness is an invitation to grow, but only if we are willing to look into those parts of ourselves and bring them into the light. When we look at them with understanding and compassion instead of keeping them hidden in the dark, that is where real growth work becomes possible. That is how we become the kind of person we can truly feel good about.
You don't care about me
Okay,
in that way.
That's a stretch. I am not gonna argue. I definitely.
I'm really not done with my story.
No, because I'm not gonna just let you talk for 30 minutes and I don't get a word, and this is how it usually goes.
I was second to getting voted off. Second.
But it came out of the gate with an accusation. You don't care about me. Jeremiah, for the first time, begins to create a boundary. He calmly says he's not going to argue. And when he responds with, "That's a stretch," he's not being defensive. He is simply advocating for himself. When someone is in attack mode, the best defense is no defense at all. Defending yourself in that moment can unintentionally give the other person more fuel to keep attacking. And believe me, I know that it is very hard not to defend, but you can see in Jeremiah that by staying grounded, he actually feels more empowered. Not in a way where he tries to gain power over Huda, but in a way that shows inner strength and self-trust. He knows that he cared about her, and he is standing in that truth. Huda, on the other hand, isn't hearing him at all. She's caught in her own hurt and is still attacking.
You are the reason why everything happened. You're the reason why I acted the way I acted. You are the reason. And you're not registering why I am feeling this way. You're not registering what I have been through up until this point. I don't want shit to do with you.
You know, as I listen to Huda here, I couldn't help but wonder, who spoke to her that way growing up? When she said, "You're the reason I act this way," it immediately struck me. Who said that to her? Who blamed her for their own behavior? Again, I am not excusing what she's doing. I am trying to explain it. This is what often happens when someone experiences trauma and hasn't done the emotional work that they need to do. The patterns they were exposed to as a child can become the patterns they repeat, especially under stress. And without reflection and healing, we can end up passing down the very pain we never chose in the first place. Later, they have another conversation, and Jeremiah asks Huda if they can slow things down, almost like turning back the clock and starting over. But the truth is that would never work. They are already too deep into their dynamic, and there's a lot that hasn't been repaired. But let's take a look at how Huda responds to Jeremiah's suggestion.
And trust me, I wish every night that we were still in the couple so I could be there for you.
Clearly what I want, you don't want to do, so take care, brother. Enjoy life.
Huda. The thing is, Jeremiah really did try. He stayed calm, rational, and grounded in the conversation. But the challenge here is that Huda twists his words, not in a manipulative way, but in a deeply wounded way. He's offering words that could be healing, but she hears them through the filter of pain. And that's the heartbreaking part of all of this. When someone hasn't done their inner growth work, when they are still struggling with low self-worth and don't have the emotional strength to hold difficult emotions, they can interpret even kind or neutral words as rejection or criticism. This is what trauma can do. It distorts meaning, makes safety feel unsafe, and turns connection into something threatening. So while Jeremiah is trying to de-escalate and connect, Huda can't receive it. Not because she doesn't want to, but because she doesn't yet know how. And finally, we see that Jeremiah chose Iris, but Huda had left her door unlocked, hoping he would choose her. This moment shows the deep disconnect she has. Huda doesn't seem to recognize how her own hurtful actions have impacted Jeremiah. Instead, she frames it as giving him another chance without stopping to ask herself if he would even want to step back into the dynamic he found so hurtful. There's no reflection on how her behavior may have pushed him away. So let's listen to her reasons for keeping the door unlocked for Jeremiah.
He told me that she is not his type, he's not attracted to her, and that he does not want to sleep in the bed with her. He told me that he still cares about me. This was another chance for him to prove that. And once again, Jeremiah failed.
Let me start by saying this. I can't imagine what it must have felt like for Huda to walk through that door with cameras on her, only to be rejected. That had to be incredibly painful. But the way that she responded to him in that moment did her a disservice. It cast her in an even more negative light. Instead of showing vulnerability, Huda lashed out, showing no sensitivity to how her words might hurt Iris. And the truth is, that comment was unnecessary. A healthier response would have been to simply acknowledge her hurt, to say that she hoped things might still work out. That would have allowed others to connect with her instead of seeing her harshness and wanting to distance themselves from her. Again, this isn't about excusing her behavior, but it does make me wonder, who spoke to her with that kind of harshness? What did she experience that taught her that this was the way to protect herself? Because so often when someone hasn't done their healing work, pain that hasn't been processed can spill out in ways that are harsh and hurtful to others. Not always, but it happens, especially when someone is deeply triggered and emotionally overwhelmed.
The reason why I didn't choose Huda because it was just too toxic, and that's why I chose the way I chose.
You know what? Enjoy it. Your safe option. Your scapegoat.
Jeremiah is really showing his growth in this moment. He made an effort to repair things with Huda, but she doesn't seem to recognize that. She missed an opportunity for repair, and I don't think she realizes it. Well, I know she doesn't realize it. I want to show you just one more moment that shows you how deeply disconnected Huda is from both herself and from the people around her. Huda believes that Ace chose her because he's supporting her. That's the story she tells herself. But we all know Ace made that choice to eliminate any possible competition, meeting Jalen. Huda reaches out to hold Ace's hand because she believes he's truly supporting her. But in reality, he's making a choice that benefits him. When he pushes her hand away, I am sure she has no idea why, because in her mind, she thought that he was on her side. This kind of disconnect often, again, comes from unprocessed trauma. When someone has experienced emotional pain in the past, especially in relationships, they may have created protective narratives to feel safe or valued. And Huda's inability to read others or herself accurately is not just confusion, it's a survival strategy. But instead of protecting her, it leaves her vulnerable to being hurt over and over again. Well, that is a wrap on this episode. Make sure to come back because I'm going to be breaking down some of the other Islander relationships that I haven't touched on yet. And trust me, there's a lot to unpack. You won't want to miss it. And so many of you have shared how these videos help you understand relationships on a deeper level and give you practical steps to navigate your relationship. And that is exactly why I create them. And if they have brought you any clarity or direction, subscribing is the best way to stay connected and keep getting insights that support you. And if you found today's tips helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who might benefit. See you next time.